Hi, I'm Denise, host of the Working Moms Redefined podcast. Let's join together as we lessen the hold of mom guilt in our lives, thrive in our careers, and raise great kids. You are doing enough. Let us boost your confidence today on this episode of the Working Moms Redefined podcast. Do you remember what life was like before kids? For some of us, that might have been a really stinking long time ago. And for others, it could be a few months. Either way, navigating a relationship or a marriage after a child is hard. Sometimes, myself included, it's really hard. Jeremy and I did not have, I would say, a super secure relationship before we got married. We wanted kids immediately. And yet that's not always the case for some, much like my friend and guest today, Emilie White. Emilie is here to talk about her relationship with her husband. Yes, they were married for 4 years. Yes, they've been together for 15. And she did not realize the impact of bringing in a baby would have on their marriage and their relationship. And ultimately finding out that there was a loss of connection there that could not stay to be true. What a beautiful thought that definitely needs to be discussed. Now, we're not talking about getting on the track for divorce by any means. We're truly realizing that hormones happen postpartum. I would say prepartum when it comes to what does it look like to add a child into the mix of our marriage? And then what are we going to talk about? So today, transitioning from before kids to after kids, what that season looked like, what the impact it has on your marriage, on your identity, and on your connection. With that, please join me in welcoming Emilie White. She is beautiful, as you can tell, as we are watching on our YouTube channel. But she is the president and CEO of the Relish Jar, a boutique agency that does amazing work to help with marketing and advertising for their clients, and someone I'm lucky enough to call my dear friend. Emilie, thank you for joining us today. Emilie has a way with words that you are soon going to be able to see. And yet, before we get to that, Emilie, tell me what you want listeners to take away from our time together today.
To know that as a first-time mom or a mom in general, there are things that you just don't plan for, and that it's okay to ask questions and reach out to your tribe, people, those types of things. For me, it was very scary. I also felt like it's something that should come naturally, and it did, but there were just big questions that I didn't know. And so to be able to reach out to people, ask questions, but then even kind of talking to you about some of the stuff that's like, this isn't talked about enough.
Specifically, Emilie means that disconnection that happens in your marriage after a child comes into the picture. It was something when Emilie brought this topic to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. We don't talk about it. And yet, sadly, I'm not the person to give you advice in that. And as I talked through with Jeremy before today's podcast episode, I was like, Emilie and I are going to discuss what it looks like in your marriage after you have kids and the sadness that is there and the heaviness that is there when there's disconnect. And it's not to the point, like you referenced, of divorce by any means, but it's that sadness of like, my person still is my person, but not the way that it used to be. And the sadness for me, Jeremy and I didn't have that before Sydney was born. And we are both humble enough to say it's there now, but it was not. And to hear you speak of your relationship with Jake in such a high capacity and kindness and grace, it's so humbling to know that you're right. You're not the only one struggling that. And you want other people to know that it's okay, that it's normal, and that it is hard. And so before we get to all of that, take us back. What was it like for you to transition from wife to motherhood?
I was so concerned or worried about experiencing postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, baby blues, that I was so perseverated on that when this happened, I didn't know what this was. I couldn't pinpoint like, why am I so sad? Why am I crying all the time? What is this feeling? And it was actually, and I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. So this is kind of my brain and how it works. She was a couple weeks old and we were laying in bed and I had just put her down and he kind of just opened up his arms and like hugged me. And I realized this is it. This is what I'm missing. I miss my husband. Not that he was distant or anything along those lines. It was just, my love language is touch. So it was just even like for him to come home at night and me to have her on my chest, I couldn't hug him. He made dinner for me every night, which was wonderful because I was taking care of her, but also I missed that. So it was all of these things that we used to do that just were out of habit that I wasn't aware until in that moment I realized, okay, this is what I'm grieving. I'm grieving that loss.
And it's not that it's dead, it's that it changed and you weren't anticipating that change. Now, I think Emilie, much like most of us, are planners, and you weren't planning for this because it wasn't talked about. How did you have that conversation with Jake to know, okay, now I need to ask for what I need and want?
Oh, I just told him. I said, this is what I need and this is what I miss.
How did he respond?
Okay.
And since that moment, what has changed?
Reminding him that, like, I'm a physical person. So just like the touch of the hand while we're sitting and eating dinner. Or if I put her down, he takes a minute and sees that I'm open for that hug or that just, hey, I love you. I mean, something that we've always done when I'm like stressed or overwhelmed is we slow dance in the kitchen. That's just, and that just brings me down from way up here like this to here. So again, missing that part because I have this tiny human who, God love her, was very attached to me. A Velcro baby, I think is what they call it. Her first 4 to 6 weeks of life. So, and I think sometimes there's this thought of your mom, so you know when she cries, what she needs. And we also had to have that conversation of like, hold her so I can take a shower. Oh, she's crying. She needs something that you know. And I finally was like, hey, listen, if she cries, I don't always know what she needs either. And sometimes when I've changed her, I've fed her, I burped her, she's not tired, lay her on the bed and she stares at the ceiling fan. And that is fine. So I think he and I are just more aware because it just became we were so in tune. And routine, we are both very routine people. So you kind of throw this into this mix and it throws off a routine. And it's one other thing. It's okay if the baby doesn't have a routine at 6 weeks. I panic. But adjusting to that routine and seeing those moments where those are open and he and I just, it's not a routine. It just happens.
I have a couple questions, and let's first go into the line of thought of I am so envious in the most beautiful way because now I want to know what you do. Jeremy and I, and you know part of our story, right? Like we had struggles and we're stronger now than we ever were before. But I'm finding moments of like, tell me how you guys connect. 7 and 8 brings different elements into the schedules and the routine. And yet, what are some things that you and Jake do to have those touch points, if you will, that anyone can implement in their marriage or their relationship?
So we always make it a point on Fridays now. We go to the Quincy Brewery Company and we take Penelope with us, but that's just something that we do that we love. And it's like we catch up on the week, even though we catch up during the week. It's just one of those things where it's like we take those 2 hours for ourselves. We go get a beer. I don't like beer, so I do seltzer. And we split pizza wagons there. We split half a pizza. And it's just one of those things that has just become routine for us. It feels really good. The weather's great. We're outside. During the week, we still have the routine of I give her bath and he cooks dinner. I feed her, put her to bed, and I come out. It's just in those moments of having dinner together is really important to me. There was a point there where we weren't having dinner together just because of how schedules were. So having dinner together is really important to me and to him because that's when we catch up during the day. It sounds silly, but just texting that other person, I love you, makes you know that they're thinking about you and that just makes you feel good. So those are things that we're just really aware of, asking each other how our day was, just opening up those conversations. He's my best friend. I mean, I want to tell him everything and he wants to tell me everything. And we dated in our early 20s, and your early 20s and communication is not a thing in your early 20s at all. So we've worked really hard about being open and honest with each other. Yes, we've been together for 15 years, but there was an on and off in those 15 years where we both had a lot of growing and learning to do. But you still have to, because I'll realize sometimes at 4:30, I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't heard from him all day. So we've both been busy. Hey, love you. Hope you're having a good day. And those are just important. I never want to go a day without that. We don't go what I call flowers usually, which is really nice, but sometimes we're both just really busy at work. But just again, you have a child, that's your first priority. But your marriage came first. And so that also has to be a priority. You're in this partnership together, and it's really important to I think we just listen to each other. I'm more emotionally feely type of person, so I really am just always, hey, this is how I feel, or I'm worried about XYZ, and he really brings me down.
You had such a good routine, if you will, of going to get coffee on Saturday mornings at a local coffee shop. And that was such a good idea. I also think, too,
I still do.
You do? Okay, good.
Not as often. Well, yeah, like schedules, but we still do that. We still go out to breakfast. We still go get coffee. Another thing, especially for first-time parents, we would get in the car and just drive. We'd get in the car, we'd grab a coffee, and we'd just drive. Again, Velcro baby, but she was really relaxed in the car. So even if it meant driving around for an hour and a half where she took her nap, we'd go through a drive-thru, grab bowls, Starbucks, EFD, whatever it may be, and we just drive around. And that's when we would have those conversations and catch up. That, hands down, was one of my most favorite postpartum maternity leave things that we did.
Wow. And say instantly for me, Emilie, if I'm in the car and Jeremy's driving, I'm working. Mm-hmm. And I think about the missed opportunity there with questions or asking or anything of those regards. And I also want to say, like, sometimes I feel as if women think that they have to get married. I mean, let me be honest. I was one of these women. I thought I needed to get married, have kids instantly. And that's what we did. And so, we've been married for 10 years. Sydney is 8. We had a miscarriage before her and after. We were in like go mode, and we didn't necessarily take the time to invest into our marriage prior. And yet we're getting to now. There's a benefit to having kids later in life. Your maturity and your surety, really, with who you are and who your husband is and who you all are together is beautiful. It's still hard for me from time to time to think about what I want, first of all, what I need, and then asking for it. I've gotten better, but you have that confidence in your ability to do so because he's delivered time and time again. What would you say to someone who is nervous about saying what they need because we're fearful that it's not going to happen?
So when it comes to marriage and your husband, that's in my personal opinion, experience in life, I'm always a person that's nervous to ask for anything. But he's the one person that there are no nerves. And there's just something beautiful happens when you get to that point in your relationship or your marriage, where I think now I can't believe I was afraid to say, hey, that really hurt my feelings, or hey, this is kind of how I read that tone in a text message. It's dangerous anyway. Just say, and I know it's easier said than done a lot of times when you say, just do it. But it's like this light that kind of just like opens up when you finally do it for the first time and you're heard.
And sometimes we have to coach them.
Correct.
To really validate our thoughts and feelings. Mm. And that has to be taught. I mean, the only reason that Jeremy and I know how to fight now is because of therapy. To be able to fight correctly and share our thoughts because we didn't trust. And so honestly, for me, if there's a lack of trust, there's a lack in you being willing to share those thoughts like that. I really like that. And we talked about, and I want to get more into that as to, okay, how do I invest into the other person? Like you had said with marriage. You guys have figured out your way. Sometimes the best way to do that is to first figure out the other person's love language. And those tests are free. So figure that out. Yes. For me, it's words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. And so once Jeremy figured that out of me, he set a reminder in his phone. And he said, tell Denise one thing that you noticed about X. And that reminder pops up on his phone. Now, honestly, I'll be the first to admit, when he chooses to start ignoring that, fire, mama's coming in hot, fire me up. And it meant a lot to me when he did it in the first place because I'm a planner. And so for him to plan was great. But once you set up a system, you better follow through on the system. Which leads me to my next point. And I do this oftentimes with coaching clients. Women are crock pots. Men are microwaves. Women need and want to be poured into all day long. We got to get heated. We got to get warmed up. If you want connection at the end of the night, in whatever form that might be, you better be starting from the moment I wake up. And I had to get to that point to be able to communicate that and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to go at 9:00 at night to be physically intimate with you unless you kind of pour into me all day. Now, I want to do the same for you. You might be a microwave. You might be able to be like, oh, I see boobs. I'm good. But that's not me, right?
Yeah.
Like sexual organs are not necessarily attractive to all of us. You need to pour into my cup and I will in turn pour into yours. But somebody has to make that first move.
Yeah.
And that's hard because sometimes we get siloed in our own ways to say, no, they should do it for me or they should serve me or whatever that case might be. It's not always fun. So as we come into a season of realizing, hey, if I need something, I need to ask for it. I get to ask for it. Might seem a little far from an opportunity to do, but we're going to build that confidence back up in yourself. When it comes to motherhood, you are in a different season. You are viewing yourself a little differently. How has being a mom, Emilie, shaped and shifted your identity, both personally and as a wife?
Personally, I have this tiny human CPR. And I'm an easily stressed person. But when I had Penelope, it just any outside stress, and I didn't want to bring that home to her. So it's one of those things where I don't want to say you don't care, because that's not the right word. It's just, that's not worth disturbing my peace and bringing that home to my daughter. She's 21 weeks old now, and seeing something so pure and so innocent and just so beautiful in the fact that whatever else is going on in the world, she has no idea and she's just happy. Gosh, she's just the happiest baby. I don't want to bring any of that to her. And those babies, they can feel that. I firmly believe that they feel that. For my babysitting class that I took when I was 13 years old, and they told me, if you're stressed out, that baby's going to feel it. And babysitting had many instances where you could kind of tell. For me, I don't want to bring that home to her, where I would bring it home and I would vent, and then in turn, Jake would get frustrated for me, and then we're just a ball of frustrated messes. And something that he and I really put in place is for the both of us. It's like if we'd come home and have a rough day, it was like sometimes you just want to talk about it and you don't want the other person to fix it. I'm a fixer. So I was always trying to fix things, to the point where he was kind of like, hey, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And we put in place, when we come home in those situations, preface it with, I just need you to listen, or I would like your advice on this. And that's really helped a lot, because I listen, yes, but I immediately want to fix. So I kind of had to have to sit on my hands sometimes and just listen. Where I'm the same way, though. Sometimes I really just want you to listen. I don't need you to fix it or get as frustrated. But after having Penelope being able to just kind of go, that's not worth bringing this home to her, that's really helped almost make life lighter, because things that just aren't really a big deal, that just become a big deal, or I, again, perseverate on a lot of stuff. Why? I'm not responsible for somebody else's mood, behavior, the way they interpret things. That's not our responsibility. So that's the way that they choose to read, understand, interpret those things. That's them. And I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people, and you and I have talked about that, you just feel this responsibility. I'm a people pleaser and I want to just make everybody happy. But becoming a mom, she's who I want to make happy. And she's the only, and my husband, but her happiness is so important to me. That noise, it's just, I've become a calmer person. I don't know if calmer is right.
You have a sense of peace about you that is different in the most beautiful way. And I was thinking that as you were speaking, it's almost like in order to give her happiness and her peace in general, you needed to give it to yourself. And so you setting up these boundaries and these non-negotiables, if you will, have made it so that you can show up not only better for both Jake and Penelope, but for you. And what a gift as a mother to be able to take that on. Wow. So very well done. You manage all of this, and you are the president and CEO of the Relish Jar, which is a beautiful boutique agency that really takes care of their clients. That is a big title to hold. How has running a business while being a mom stretched you and also taught you something?
Well, my coworkers will always tell you, I always would say, if you're preparing me for children, you've done a good job, because it's a lot. It's a lot of different personalities. It's a lot of client different personalities. So you're managing a lot, and managing personalities is a lot. So I've gotten really good with time management. Not that I wasn't good at it before, but it's like even more so now. And multitasking. I use multitasking is good. We'll do it like that, because it's like no one can really multitask. It's just like micro segmenting things, for lack of a better term. It's just trying to find that happy balance. I'm really lucky in the sense that where I work is extremely flexible, and the people that I work with are understanding, and have children who are older, but they understand. So that's been really helpful in the sense that I still have it. I still have this guilt of like, oh gosh, some days I just feel bad for leaving early. But it's one of those things where, again, being a mother has really shifted that perspective of me, in the sense of my work's done. Everybody's caught up. Everybody that I work with is extremely independent. We work great as a team, but we're also extremely independent. So it's not, they don't need me there. And when they do, they tell me. So again, open communication in marriage, open communication in our work as well.
Emotions are high, pre or post. And I love the thought process. Somebody once told me that you are always postpartum the minute you have a child, whether you are 65 or 25 and you've just had a baby, you are always postpartum. And there are so many emotions that come around that. Was there a time before Penelope was even born that you had a lot of emotions around something and you weren't quite sure what to do with them?
Oh, yeah.
Describe that to me.
When we found out if we were having a boy or a girl, I was convinced it was a boy. Not that I did, either one would have been great. But when we had found out it was a girl, in that moment, very excited. And then after we'd found out and it was just me and Jake, he could tell something was a little off, and he kind of came home. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm really happy it's a girl, but I'm also terrified it's a girl." One, world that we live in is a scary place, especially for being a woman. So that's that. Two, my immediate thought was, little girls can just be mean. And so it's just, that just tears at your heart, because it's just, you don't want anybody to ever be mean to your child. And I also thought about our first heartbreak, because I've had my heart broken before, and that's terrible. So for me, it was all of those things. So you have a 8-year-old, right? Yeah. I mean, and I have a goddaughter who's 7, and some of the stuff that's going on at school now at their age terrifies me. Because I don't know if it's, which is great, I don't know if they're more confident, or I don't remember having my feelings hurt this early at that age. I don't remember some of the things that girls are to my goddaughter. I mean, she calls me her fairy godmother, and they made fun of her for that. And I'm like, why are you making fun? At 7 years old, fairy godmother should still be real. So into the future and that type of thing, that scares me. So how do you handle, because you and I are similar in age, so I think, and maybe I just blocked it out. I don't know, but I don't think it was like that when we were little. I really don't. So that scares me.
And rightfully so. I appreciate you asking the question. And I also want you to know that the exact fear that you had about when you found out that it was a girl instead of a boy, I had the exact opposite fear when I found out Hudson was a boy. I had in my mind, thanks to, we also go to the same therapist.
Yes, we do.
She's amazing. You can check out her previous episode in the show notes. And yet my mom, it was ingrained in me when she said the comment of that God didn't give me boys for a reason. And I had taken that on as, okay, God's not going to give me boys because I can't handle it because I'm like my mom.
Mm.
And so when I found out that we were having Hudson, I lost my ever-loving mind. Much like you. I had a plan. I was going to have 2 girls just like I had growing up, right? I was going to be XYZ. This person was going to be a reflection of me, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, it was the best thing that that Hudson was a boy, because he has taught me all of these other wonderful things. But in that moment, I could not let that go. And I think giving yourself permission to have those feelings was huge. And I knew it was for me as well. I would say too, God gives you what you can and cannot handle in both, right? And so he is the perfect reflection of that. Still to this day, at 7 years old and 8 for Sydney, it is not lost on me that you're asking this question, and I can't wait to empower you in this moment and all of those listening. You know how you said that communication was key from the very beginning with Jake? You said that in your marriage, you needed to do that. Sometimes I think we protect conversations around our children too much because the things that they are dealing with, like you alluded to, are big kid things. They are adult things, name calling, big T trauma things. Lack of confidence. We want them to be able to stand up for themselves, but that people pleaser in us that was started at the age of 4 is really starting to come out. And so honestly, it's having conversations with the kids at such a young age about the topics that they haven't yet been able to experience, so that when they do, they're prepped and ready. Sydney got called fat 2 months ago, probably. I remember when I was young and I got called fat for the first time, I freaked out. I remember coming home being like, oh my gosh, somebody doesn't like me. Holy cow, they've called out something that I'm insecure about, all of these things. And I made it a mission that when I found out that I was having a girl, we don't call ourselves fat, chunky, whatever the case might be. We call ourselves strong when we look in the mirror. And I made it a point that that's what we talked about. So that when Sydney got called fat someday, because people are mean, it's going to happen whether you were 20 pounds or 100 pounds, you're going to get called names. How do we handle that? Well, we create these I am statements, much like I'm strong. When you look in the mirror, yes, I'm beautiful. Yes, but it's more about the kindness in your heart. But you have to start those things. I mean, we did it when she was 3. And so we look in the mirror and we say, TMI or not, you guys know me well enough. We stand in front of the mirror naked and we look in the mirror and we say, tell me 5 things that you love about yourself. You know how often they are not physical? They're so emotional based. And then I say, I am strong at the end of it. So the day that she came home and she said, hey, by the way, somebody called me fat today. It wasn't that moment of, oh my gosh, somebody called me fat today. It was, hey, somebody called me fat today. And I looked at her and I said, oh, tell me how you handled that. And she goes, I told them that they were wrong and that I'm strong. That started from looking in your mirror naked and identifying I am strong. Because if we don't take the initiative to do those types of things, it's going to be hard. Now, Hudson just the other day walked through the house and said, Mommy, those guys were talking about me behind my back. And I said, okay, sir. If you heard them, they're literally not talking behind your back. And I said, what did you do? He said, I kept on walking. And I said, well, why didn't you stand up for yourself? And he goes, I didn't want to be me. And I said, and again, he was 6 at the time. I said, buddy, standing up for yourself is not mean. But I don't know about you. I used to think that standing up for myself was being mean because it wasn't pleasing the other person. And he goes, Lord, what do you mean? I said, what did they say? And so he told me. And then I said, what would you have liked to have said to them? Of course, the statement from a 6-year-old boy was like, that's not fair. Well, life's not fair. So instead, what do you wish that you would have said? Well, I wished I would have said that I do have friends and I am going to go play at school. And I said, so what was wrong about you saying that statement? Nothing. So it's having those conversations that really are adult-minded with your kids.
Mhm.
They're smarter than us. Think about how many times things have been taught to you by your 4.5-month-old.
Yeah.
They can teach us that at any age, but we have to be open and willing to hear it.
Mhm.
Such a good question, though. Okay, so from afar, you know what? We're going here. Emilie has a boutique advertising marketing agency. Denise Talcott has an advertising agency. You can have friends in the industry that do the exact same thing. I am not in competition with her. I refer people to her and vice versa, right?
Mhm.
We remove the competition because we are not in competition with anybody else but ourselves to be better than we were the day before. I have admired Emilie from afar for years. Not only is she beautiful, this way in which she carries herself, the way in which she speaks to people, with people, is somebody who I want to be friends with. And so she was getting headshots done one day, and I walked over to the table and I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot, because it's like dating when it comes to friendships. You know that. And I went up to her and I was like, you don't know me. My name is Denise. Your name is Emilie. We should be friends, but you look absolutely beautiful today. And at that point in time, Emilie's heart came out. Like, I had to open up the opportunity to do so. And so when I think about like you not being confident, it blows my mind, because from afar, we put on this image, we put on our suit jacket, if you will, to say, I am confident. And so when you say that, it blows my mind, because you're so hard on yourself. And I just know the way that Penelope is going to look up to you in ways like that, because you speak about things that you previously weren't taught how to speak. Like, did your mom share her thoughts and what her needs were with your dad?
I don't think so. They're not married.
They're not married. So sometimes we're our own worst critic in places that you're doing such a good job and you don't even know it. She is an empath as well.
Yeah. Yes. As empath as you can get. Like, I can't read about breakups from the friend's cousin's sister because I feel it so deeply.
That heart is going to be so beautiful to see lived out in your daughter. And I can't wait to see what other future babies you might have. And as we talk about that, so we wrap up that conversation about, the loss of your marriage when you have a child or more children. It's there, but if you don't do something about it, you just never know what that trail might look like. So thank you for talking about it, that it's okay to talk about it, and that the next step is to say something about it. And don't be scared. All of these hormones that are going on, do the hard thing in asking the question. Each time on the podcast, we have been wrapping up with a lightning round style of questions. So Emilie, you get to go. What is your go-to comfort food after a long day? Potatoes?
Anything potato related or carbs. I should say carbs. Pasta, bread, potatoes, French fries.
That's hilarious. Okay.
I love.
What is your date night outfit looking like in today's season?
We should get colder, so it would just be leggings and a sweatshirt all the time. But that's what, yeah. If it's not, it's like gym shorts and this t-shirt.
Cool.
Yeah.
Final question. What is the one thing that you swore you would never do as a parent that you've already done?
Get off schedule. You know me, I'm type A, and let me tell you what, I was trying to put her on a schedule at like 4 or 6 weeks old, and I have several friends who are like, shut up, stop. Because you read all the books, you read the blogs and the internet and all this other stuff. So people humbling me that is not going to happen. But also, my husband and I like to do stuff, and we like bringing her with. So yes, normally does she go between 7 and 7:30? Yeah. Will we go out to the brewery till 7:30, 8 o'clock? Mm-hmm. Have we pushed her now twice to way past too far bedtime? Absolutely. Have we learned our lesson? Yeah. But have we done it twice? You betcha. That is one thing I was just very like, okay, we're always going to be on schedule. Da, 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 da. For us, for him and I, we still want to have a life. So, and some days it's, we're going to actually follow her schedule and let her sleep by her scheduled naps and all that other stuff. But that has been the one thing that I really thought it would be way more regimented about. And the fact that I am able to just go, it's okay. She's breathing, she's healthy, she's eating, she's sleeping, she's pooping, she's peeing. She's okay.
What every mom needs to hear from time to time is that if their needs are taken care of, you are good to go. What a fun conversation to have about the power of connection in marriage after kids and making sure that that is not lost at any season of life. And sometimes that's hard. Darn it, that's hard. And yet you can do hard things. Thank you for listening to the Working Moms Redefined podcast. It is not lost on me that you chose to spend time together. Thank you. Let's connect outside of this space on socials. We'd love for you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. We've got it all to connect with you. If you feel as if someone in your life could be impacted by this message, feel free to share it. That is the biggest compliment. As we part ways together, remember, you can do hard things.